Okay. Oh, you live stream on YouTube. I just realized that. Wow, folks, we're famous. We're on YouTube.
Not even a big deal anymore. So let's get started. Welcome to our webinar today. Curriculum development and knowledge for student success for high school counselors today. This is our disclaimer. And today our presenter is Dr. Harold Daher, former chair of school counseling at NYIT. Has presented at state departments, large schools, small schools, counselor associations all over the country. Was part of our team when we revised the new regulation, not even new regulations, the amended regulations a few years ago. Continues to support us all in New York City and New York State on the implementation project. We're going to have some high school counselors joining us with her later on in the session. So let's get started. Thank you, Carol.
Okay, and thank you, Bob. Let me just pop open my screen. And here we go. Before we get going, Bob, if you're okay, you don't mind checking chat? Because we want our counselors to be interactive. And with just a quick hour, it's a little difficult. For us to do anything more, like, to do things like breakout rooms, even though we were thinking about that, it would take up a little too much time. And we want to highlight the work of 3 of our high school counselors today to share some of their secrets to success. And we'll get into that in just a little bit. So folks, as they're waiting for a few more stragglers, since we had 140 registered, maybe we have competing good weather today. If anybody's had a great success with a lesson, something that went really well, something that your administrator asked you to do and was really successful, something that teachers, in the math department said, can you guys go in and help us with this in terms of kids getting their assignments done? Anyway, if you've had a great success, drop it in chat. And we'll read some of those as we're going on. And I'm just going to go a little bit further, Bob, and we'll see if we have any great successes, because I'm assuming that all of you have some form of curriculum going on at your building, not just because New York State is saying we're supposed to have a school counseling curriculum, but because we know the most efficient and effective way of getting to all kids is by grabbing them in the classroom setting. And then, of course, we can move from there into groups and then into our individual counseling. So did we get anybody yet dropping anything exciting? Okay, I'm on full screen for the slides so you can see them better. Okay, not yet. Maybe somebody will come up with something later.
You're not sharing either. You need to share.
Okay, so we're just going to focus in on 4 things today. Again, we have a quick hour. I want to review with you what NYSED, New York State Education Department, expects. So some of you still may be negotiating, getting into classrooms with your administrators and with your colleagues, teachers. We'll talk about some strategies, how to design and deliver. And also we're going to get you familiar with the NYSCA lesson repository. Dr. Rotunda is going to want to know how many of you know about it, but certainly you'll all know about the resources that NYSCA put together, all 312 lessons that are there, free, available for you to use. And then let's talk a little bit about how you identify student needs. How do you know what to deliver? Sometimes we get hung up on things we like to deliver. I talked with a group of high school counselors about 2 weeks ago. They like doing this sand jar activity because it helps kids layer the different levels of their life. But they were thinking that since they're doing very little in goal setting, that maybe they have to figure out how to connect sand jars in goal setting and making it a little bit more of a meaningful experience that has an outcome. So we'll talk about that also. So briefly, and again, you will be receiving from Dr.
Carol?
Rotunda tomorrow. Yeah,
Carol, you need to screen share.
again? Okay.
Okay.
Sorry, folks, let me do it again. I think my laptop is not happy screen sharing. So here we go. Okay,
Ta-da.
let me go back.
Now you got it.
Okay, and I'm just gonna go back. So honestly, you didn't miss anything. And you're going to get a copy of all of these. So Bob, if it disappears again, let me know.
Oh,
I think it's
Target.
almost time for a new laptop. I wear them out, or they wear me out. I'm not sure which. So briefly, if there is still something you need to explain to an administrator or your colleagues, that this amended regulation shall be for the purpose of addressing student competencies. Those competencies are based on the ASCA mindsets and behaviors. We'll do a deeper dive into those a little bit later, and it round the 3 domains, the same 3 domains we've always used. So college and career readiness, academic development, and SEL, which we used to call personal social. Now it says by a certified school counselor, but when we get a little further into the presentation, you'll understand that we as school counselors, our job is to make sure that there is a curriculum and that we're doing our best to provide information to kids, or instruction, if you want to call it instruction, around the 3 areas. And that some of the areas such as college and career might be being delivered at a higher level than academic motivation, because we're assuming that those middle school counselors took care of that for us. So that's the role of the certified school counselor. The curriculum itself, think of it as a structure that holds your lesson. So 9th grade, I'm going to deliver these lessons, this number of lessons around SEL, and this number of lessons around academic, and this number of lessons around college and career. And then I may do it differently at 10th grade, a little bit differently at 11, maybe grade 11, I'm going to focus more on that CCR. Grade 12, maybe more CCR, and SEL, getting them ready for the transition for life after high school. But it's up to you. And I will reiterate later, NYSED does not tell us it has to be a specific number of lessons for a specific grade level or a specific number of lessons for a particular area. And again, attitudes, knowledge, and skills are super important as our kids negotiate post-COVID life back in school and learning how to get along with others again. The curriculum should reflect the needs of your students. So what Nick is doing up in Victor might be very different than what Diana and Bernadette are doing in Huntington. Again, it depends on your student demographics and your student data. Again, opportunities, we're hoping there are 36 standards. We deliver them from grades K through 12. So of course, we're not going to try and do all 36 in each particular grade level. That's again for you to pick and choose. And I'm going just to go to the next one in just a second. Focus on prevention, folks. It's really about prevention. It's about information, attitudes, knowledge, and skills. And many of us right now at the high school level also are using mindfulness and wellness to increase student success. So what are you currently using in your high schools? Let's assume most of you are using Naviance. But besides Naviance, which is predominantly a college and now somewhat a career development program, what else are people using? Let's see how quickly we can drop a few things in chat. See how my co-pilot is doing. Anything coming up?
Choices 360.
Okay. I don't know Voices 360.
Choices.
Oh, choices. Yes,
Yeah.
choices. And I know we have SCORE, U-Science, I've seen those at the high school level. Also things like overcoming obstacles. Is anybody using restorative justice? Anything else there, Bob, or we'll keep going?
Nope, nothing yet.
Okay, so folks, just keep dropping things in because we're going to save the chat. So you don't have to spend this hour just taking tons of notes. Everything will be saved for you and will be sent to you tomorrow. The PowerPoint, a video of the webinar, and then again, any other resources that we've got for you. So curriculum design now. So we school counselors oversee this. That's important. So we know where the gaps are, but we do know that the lessons can be developed by us and in collaboration with faculty and other school staff. Many lessons, and I'm going to make a suggestion, some of the mental health lessons are coming from our health and PE teachers. So there is a new, not so new, about 3 years old, New York State mental health curriculum that's now being delivered in the health classes. We also have some anti-bullying, some substance abuse lessons coming out of health. All of these embellish the core of what we're doing as school counselors. Some of us may have a dedicated advisory, and certainly we could use advisory as a great opportunity to deliver lessons. So sometimes lessons are developed by teachers, such as, again, health professionals, career specialists, if we have career and technical classes at our schools, some specialized classes, again, on topics important to student development. We have these curriculum components in place. So for many of us, it's a matter of taking what we've got and organizing it into a curriculum. So how do you decide what we should be delivering? Well, think about what your students need, bottom line. And who's telling us what students need as well as the students? So family members, teachers, and our administrators. What does the school data tell you? What can we do in terms of attendance, behavioral issues? Are we dealing with sexual harassment? Are we helping our kids better understand what that is? Or dating protection, having an inclusive environment. You know, so some of us also are using some of the resources from organizations such as GLSEN, and of course, heavily invested in post-secondary planning. What gaps do you see? At the high school level, having been a supervisor like Jeanette and Mary, so much of my work was invested in college and career readiness. But folks, we know the value and the importance, how critical it is that we also talk about SEL, social emotional development issues with our kids, even in terms of just learning how to talk with each other. And again, what have we learned from teachers and families? What can you use for resources? Well, again, we've got the ASCA mindsets and the behaviors. That makes our lessons standards aligned and puts them on the same par as the standards that our teachers use. Our standards are national. Some of our teachers, like National Council of Math, are using those standards. National Council of ELA and Reading, they're using those standards. So yes, it's really important that we use standards also on a national and a state level. We have NICED standards, CDOS, they're still alive and well. And we also have for the last 3 years, SEL benchmarks. When you get this, these links will take you to those resources. You can look at your school improvement goals. In New York City, it's called the Comprehensive Education Plan. Most of us across the state just call it SIG or school improvement. Again, school data is super important. Needs assessment. Anybody here conducting a needs assessment in terms of building your curriculum? Let us know who you are, and we'll give you a couple of minutes later to talk about that. And don't be shy, we're among friends. faculty and staff feedback, again, student needs, community needs. So I want to bring you now to something super important, and I'm going to do a new share because this happens all the time. And I'm going to go into, here we go. I want to go to NYSCA.org, which was open, but might not be open. Here we go. Bob, tell me if you see it or if I need to do another share. Let's do a new share. There we go. So your association, New York State School Counselor Association, which sponsored today's work, has a great grant, and they've been able to put together lots of resources for us. So if you go to NYSCA.org, and again, that will be on the PowerPoint for you, go to the left-hand column from the home page, and the magic word here is curriculum. And when I click on it, Bob, did it move into curriculum? Okay, perfect. You'll see online lesson plans, and click here for the lesson plans. There's a lot of information about the development, also letting you know that these are vetted lessons, which means they've been reviewed by counselors in the field and that they've come from legitimate sources. Honestly, even though Teachers Paying Teachers is a great resource, we didn't pay any teachers for these lessons. So I'm going to click on that. And folks, what you're going to see is K through 12. You don't need K through 12, but you will see grade 9, 10, 11, and if I could scroll up, and 12th grade. And I'm just going to click on 9th grade first. And you'll see the 3 domains: academic, CCR, and social emotional learning. I'm going to click on academic, and bingo, 8 lessons that you can borrow, adapt, steal, do whatever you want. They're for you to use. And the name of the lesson reflects the topic. I'm going to just open up one. Let me go to this one here. I was going to scroll down. All right, let me go to Study Skills Workshop Part 1. And Bob, give me a thumbs up if it's on the showing. Yes, okay, thank you, computer. So as you see, grade 9, academic is the domain, lesson 1. These do not have to be delivered by you in any order. Your job is to go there and just pick and choose what's going to be helpful to you. And this is the Ask a Lesson Plan template. It was just updated last summer in 2022. In 2021, after ASCA updated the standards. As you can see, it says unit. So it is one of 3 lessons around study skills. Again, the counselors that worked on this initiative, high school counselors like yourself, said to us, this is important for 9th grade. You may find these more important for 10th grade. Some of you who may be in a grade 6 through 12 school may want to use them for your 8th graders. So it's, again, up to you. I'm just going to scroll down. I want to walk you through one. It says research informed. So what we did is we only borrowed, adapted, or stole, with permission, lessons from organizations such as CASEL, College Board, our CDOS curriculum, NACAC, let me say, on and on and on. Oh, different state departments of education like Missouri and New Jersey and North Carolina and Florida, places that have had lessons in Connecticut for lots of years. And we put them together on the ASCA template, aligned with the standard. So again, here's, it says B, which means it's a behavior, LS, learning strategy number 3. So the standard is time management, organizational, and study skills. We created a learning objective, again, just like teachers, so that legitimately you're going in there with a plan to be able to share with your teachers and share with your administrators. And I'm just going to scroll through this. There's a survey attached to this. All the materials should be attached to each lesson. There's an introduction. How do you introduce the lesson? Sort of an icebreaker. Communicate the objective, so the objective is repeated. What your script could be for teaching the content, again, for discussion, large group or small group discussion. Here, the content would be about personal habits. What are my strongest study skill strategies? What study skill strategies do I need in order to be successful in high school? Again, this is why the counselors that selected these lessons thought these would be good for 9th grade. And then practicing the content. So students will evaluate personal study skills using a particular worksheet. So I'm going to scroll down to that in just a second. Again, the script is there. How to bring closure. So today we went over a habit. We reviewed personal study skill habits. And again, some tips for you. You may want to collect the survey sheet, or you might want to tell the kids to bring it back next time. When I had 9th graders, I always collected things, and I know that was a little while ago. So this is intended for a full class of 25 to 35 students. And we planned all of these around a class period, usually about 40 minutes. Now, here's what I want to show you at the bottom. We did not identify, this is up to you, is this a lesson to support achievement, attendance, or behavior? ASCII uses the word discipline. What might the follow-up plan be? Well, if I had 4 kids absent, I might want to leave the worksheet with my classroom teacher who could give it to the kids, or just, give it to them and tell them to bring it the next time that we get together. The source of the lesson was the Missouri Department of Education. If you click on that link, some of their links have moved. We are not able to update them because they are updating all their lessons, honestly, to look as good as ours. They're a little jealous. True story. Okay, and then here's your worksheet at the end that you can print and distribute to the kids with some instructions in terms of a reflective piece for the students to save, or again, for you to save. I'm going to stop that for a second. Okay. Bob, am I still on 9th grade now? Okay.
Yes.
So folks, I just want to show you that these exist in all 3 domains. So I'm just going to pop open 10th grade CCR for a minute. And again, we have here 8 lessons. And I'm going to go over here and you'll see 11th grade SEL. We got a little controversial. We do have folks who have already told us that they've moved things like sexting down to middle school. And I'm thinking, whoa, I'm out of it. But high school counselors know that it doesn't start in high school. Safe havens to help students protect themselves from trafficking. So we wanted to make sure that we covered all bases, especially as kids got older. Online enticement, the same thing, how to protect yourself with internet safety. Not just not going to porn websites, but finding yourself in places that could get you into trouble. So again, up to your discretion. Can I use these in my community? And also, what grade level in my building are they most appropriate? And then last but not least, here's your 12th grade. I'm just looking at academic. A lot about transferring skills from high school to college or some post-secondary opportunity. Your post-secondary checklist. Notice that's lesson 1, so it might start with you in September. So let me just throw this out there, folks. Any question about the NYSCA lesson repository? And I'm just going to jump back to the PowerPoint because we want to have our guests talk to you in just a second. Bob, any question there?
Carol, I have a quick poll.
Sorry?
I have a quick poll. I'm going to
Okay,
put out.
great. So, there we go. I'll let you know when we're ready to get to it. How's that?
Oh, I put
Okay,
the
let
wrong
me-
poll. I'm sorry.
Sorry?
I'm talking to myself.
That's okay. Anyway, I'm just going to go back into full slide one more second. Again, this is what it looks like. So you don't have to take notes. The lesson plan, I already showed you those details, so we're not going to get into them. But most importantly, you don't have to struggle with how do I do this, especially if you are a new counselor. Oh, Bob's got a poll up there while I'm moving right into our guests. Do you know about the NISCA lesson plans? Did you know before this meeting? Let's do a yes or a no. Excellent, Bob.
Curious.
Okay, yes. And I'm just going to go to the next slide for a minute. And Bob, we can skip this one. I think everybody in this room knows that the
Yeah.
curriculum can be delivered by folks other than school counselors. So we have teachers. In some other instances, we may have social workers. We may have a CBO, a community-based organization, coming in and help us with some substance abuse information and counseling. So we know, but remember, school counselors, we need to know what's going on. That's our role and responsibility. So I just want to show you one more thing and we'll go right over to our guests. Curriculum is tier 1. All of us are now in an MTSS, multi-tiered systems of support. We're using that for a lot of different modalities, but importantly for school counselors, curriculum and the IPRs. And I know this is not a day for IPRs, but we won't talk about them. But school counseling curriculum is all students from K to 12. And then, of course, from those classroom experiences, we will have a better handle on who would benefit from group. And last but not least, who again, as kids' issues surface from both seeing them in classes and meeting with them with the IPR, who needs some more individual counseling. So I think it's time to meet our guests. Nick, do you see Mary in the room?
She's here.
Yes, Mary, sorry, I couldn't see you because I am hiding myself behind full screen. I'd like to introduce to you Mary Benezak, who is our coordinator of counseling in Victor, New York, and also a high school counselor. Mary, I don't know how you do both. And she's going to introduce our guest speaker today, Nick Scully, who's going to talk about what he does and how he does it. Mary, thank you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Mary Benezak. This is my 34th year at Victor and my 4th year as a board member for NISCA in our region. We have 16 counselors in the district, 5 social workers, and 12 school psychs. In our high school, we team with our school psychologist, social worker, an administrator, and counselor as a team around each and every student. So when we created our comprehensive plan a few years ago, we went through the process involving all stakeholders and then really focused our curriculum development, written and created by our school counselors, but implemented by our entire team of social workers and psychs. So one of our counselors, Nick Scully, really glad to have him join us today. He came to the high school from the junior high, so his breadth of experience and knowledge has been really helpful of the students in their transition process. And also he's been a strong advocate for creating this curriculum and implementing it. So Nick, take it away.
Yeah, just so first off, just to give you a little background on me. So I started out a couple of years as a high school counselor in a small district, then moved to Victor and worked in the junior high 7-8 for 6 years. And then I moved to the high school as my 3rd year in the high school at Victor. So at each kind of stop I've always been involved in creating curriculum and creating lessons and delivering lessons, even 10, 11 years ago when I first started. I would say the first 5 to 6 years of my career it was all Naviance. I had Naviance in my previous district. We have Naviance here at Victor. So it was very career-based lessons, just using what Naviance has in terms of their search engines, their assessments, and building things around what Naviance offers. So I did that at my old district. I did that at the junior high, and really just built stuff from Naviance on my own, and kind of working with other counselors to build something from Naviance. So to kind of fast forward here to the high school, we're shifting at this point. And just to kind of give you an idea of what we have and what we don't have here at the high school. So we're blessed to have a college coordinator, who strictly kind of deals with the college interventions, and she handles our lessons 9 through 12 for career and college. And those are all still based around Naviance. So we have a huge help in that respect. Those lessons had been built over the years around Naviance and they're being fine tuned kind of every year, but are delivered by her at this point. She's awesome. And so that's a huge help. And I recognize that's not something everybody necessarily has. But we have that. So we're lucky to have that. So the other thing we recently started having as a resource is a program called Panorama. I know it's becoming a little bit more popular. It might not be familiar to some, but it's kind of an all-inclusive data, kind of a data organizer, but it also has a lot of SEL components to it where you're able to survey students on their SEL development. It also has lessons and activities built into it that you can use as a resource. So we've recently gotten that. I can't say that we've looked at everything that it has. We're kind of in the process of using that now to build curriculum as well. So we've really shifted, I think, in the last 2 to 3 years to that SEL curriculum development. What we don't have, Panorama has some curriculum within it. It's not, I don't think it's laid out as nicely as what Carol just showed with her NYSCA examples. It's more of a, kind of a library of activities and lessons that you can access. So we're kind of in the process, but we're still very much developing our own lessons, and kind of using Google and using things to come up with activities, really on our own. And we're hoping that Panorama will kind of help us streamline that a bit and give us some resources. I'm excited to see the NYSCA resources as well, because I think that could help us develop some things too. We also don't have built-in time. We do not have an advisory. We do not have a seminar. We don't have anything built in where we're able to easily go in and see all of our kids. We have to fight to get into the classroom. So we really only can go into English, social studies, and maybe PE at this point if we want to do a tier 1 across the building intervention. So we really, I would say our administrative support is a passive support at this point. It's something where, and I've kind of always had that passive support where it's like, yeah, that's a good idea, go ahead and do it. And then it's been our duty to kind of go figure out how to do it. So I've never really had strong administrative support or direction with curriculum. But I can't say also that we've had any sort of strong blocking or anything like that when it comes to curriculum. So those are just some of the things that we have and don't have. I've learned it's important to use what you have and try to work through obviously what you don't have to do all this. I think the most important thing that I've learned in the last 2 to 3 years, and I know Carol touched on this, was that needs assessment piece and collecting data on your students. I'm a firm believer now that I do not want to do a lesson without student data. There was a time where I think we as a group were like, hey, what do we think we should do? Right. And we were just kind of picking things out of the air that we observed, which I think that still is a factor, but I think it's so important to survey your kids. I think it's easier than ever now with Google Forms, just creating a Google form, throwing it out to the kids. We have 1,400 kids in our building, so we have to, we try to email them a survey. Panorama is allowing us to survey them as well. There's some nice survey options in Panorama that we've been able to push out to each and every student. That's really giving us, and not that we're getting every single student, but we're getting a good chunk. And it's giving us some really good feedback from a needs assessment place that has now driven what we're doing. So just to give you an example, we surveyed them at the end of last year, really for the first time. We surveyed them across 9-12 just to ask, what do you need help with? What are you experiencing at the high school? What are you struggling with? And Panorama allowed us to do that. But you could also do a Google form pretty easily. And so we analyzed that data. We found out that the number one thing that kids recognized was the ability to kind of recognize and process their emotions, which was interesting. So we developed a lesson pretty quickly. And again, we kind of sort of came up with it on our own and met as a group and threw some ideas around, Googled things. We didn't really have anything that we were relying on resource-wise, other than our collective ideas, to put something together to deliver. And we ended up delivering at 9-12 this past fall. And it took us, like I said, we have 1,400 kids in our building. So it took us, I would say, a month or even over a month to deliver the lessons. So it was quite an undertaking. But we pushed into, I think we pushed into English or social studies, one of the two. And we hit every single kid at that tier 1 level. And then we resurveyed them this past January with the same questions that we asked in June. And we did find that on that particular kind of question or category that we addressed, we were able to assess, did we make an impact with that lesson? And it turned out we increased that particular question by 10 percentage points in the student body. So it seemed to have an impact. The kids seemed to recognize that, hey, that lesson, had an impact on us. So our goal right now is, with the capacity that we have and the time that we have, is really to try to deliver 2 SEL lessons a year. We'd love to do more, but we're kind of fighting that time and that access piece. We'd love to have an advisory. We'd love to have a time where kids are more accessible to us, and we're kind of fighting for that. But we're kind of, it is what it is right now. And we have to use what we have. So our goal right now is 2 SEL lessons. The one we're coming up on is a lesson on belonging. We've noticed in our building that there's a lot of issues with tolerance, with language, with, just not being nice to each other, not understanding differences, diversity. So there's been a lot of observation, and we're going to put a survey out here in the next couple of weeks to ask the kids directly about how much they feel connected to the school. What do they feel about belonging? So we're going to kind of use that data to drive our lesson coming up here in the spring. And again, we'll do, social studies or English, and it'll probably take us 3 to 4 weeks to get to everyone. But, that's our goal right now, is to really use data. The lesson that we came up with, again, we did not really use any resources. We kind of put our heads together, Googled things, and came up with things that resonated with us. Used Panorama a little bit to find some activities. So again, just meeting as a group of counselors and coming up with things that we think will work and resonate with the kids. So we'd love a curriculum, a canned sort of curriculum, a resource. The NYSCA thing looks great, but it's also nice to have something that's, if we were able to push in more and do more, that we'd want to have sort of a more all-around, all-inclusive curriculum. But we don't have that right now, but we're making it work and trying to meet as a group and work together and collaborate to create those things. So that's kind of what it looks like right now for us. Again, the goal is 2 SEL lessons a year. We have our grade level career lessons that are being delivered that are associated with Naviance. We have done study skills as well, as sort of an academic intervention piece. So we got to look at building on those things too, those academic skills, and how can we create lessons around that. But as everyone here is, we're pulled in a million different directions, and we're trying to make it work as best we can to meet what the state is asking us to do, and also feel like we're doing everything that we can to address the student needs. That's pretty much where we're at right now. And it's a work in progress.
I just want to add, Nick, that what I think was really cool about our lessons this year was the theme attached to each one. We tried to really make it appealing to the kids. So we created it as Snapchat, and it's snap back, stop, name, and process or problem solve. And our art teacher created a Snapchat logo with the VCS behind it, the ghost. And then Nick and others in our department worked on getting t-shirts, and we ordered snap bracelets that our principal paid for, so that when the kids are demonstrating those snapback skills, we can give out the bracelet. So it kind of continues the lesson. Our principal refers to it in the faculty meetings. The new sense of belonging. You know, we'd really like to see our school take on the "You Belong Here" philosophy. And so that's what we're going to try to push for this next lesson. So Nick's been really creative and supportive and driving these lessons and the development of them. And it takes a village. The whole team has helped, but it's been fun.
Mary and Nick, thank you so much. I think probably what makes the messages powerful, which is why we wanted to, and we have 2 more counselors to hear from, is that it's genuine and real as to what's going on in our districts, and the fact that you are pushing in a couple of SEL lessons a year, you've got career things going, you got some academic things going. So Nick, and hopefully the NYSCA lesson repository, this is a commercial, will help you pick and choose and just organize it under a scope and sequence, and you'll see what an amazing job you're doing. So thank you both, and we're going to hang out at the end for some Q&A, and it's my pleasure now to introduce Jeanette Alomia and her team, Diana Bonilla and Bernadette Walsh, from the other part of the state, the downstate part of Long Island. Jeanette, take it away.
Hi, good afternoon. Jeanette Alomia, Director of Guidance for the Huntington Schools. This is my 4th year with the district. Prior to that, I was a high school counselor for a total of 13 years, bilingual counselor, and I started during the pandemic, our first year during the pandemic. So it's been quite of an interesting ride. Huntington is located in Suffolk County. We are a very diverse community. Not only from a racial ethnic perspective, but also socioeconomic. We have 1,400 students enrolled at the high school. I would say about 53% of our students are from Latino Hispanic descent, and about 19-20% are English language learners. We had last year, we reported and we achieved 93% graduation rate, and over 53% of our students do attend a 4-year institution. About 20% attended from the class of 2022, of course, attended a 2-year university. And the remaining 20% attended an alternate path or are actually involved in either employment, they took a gap year, and other services through Access VR, adult services, etc. And so we have many, we are a busy office. We have wonderful clerical support, wonderful building administration. I have a total of 11 K through 12 counselors. Here at the high school, I have 8 counselors, and half of them are bilingual. We recently hired another bilingual counselor, in which now our counselors have an opportunity to make, more meaningful connections, continue making meaningful connections because they have a more manageable caseload. However, ever since up to last year, counselors had north of 260 students. And we're not just talking about the numbers, and as you know, needs are definitely high, especially with COVID, with all the trauma and SEL needs that our students are desperately in need of. So I'm just gonna take this time to introduce my two wonderful counselors. I have Ms. Diana Bonilla. She is one amazing bilingual counselor. She's been with us, I believe, 8 years here at the district. The day that I was appointed as a director, she was appointed as a tenure counselor. So it was for both of us a very happy day. I remember that, Diana. And then, and so she is definitely our most seasoned bilingual counselor, and she has been serving she has been a mentor to others. And then we have Mrs. Bernadette Walsh, who is not only a certified school counselor, of course, she has, I believe, 18 years of school counseling experience. Most of that time was here, has been here at the high school. And she is our dedicated college advisor. So we do have a college office, which is great. And so both counselors from different roles, they have different roles and tasks. However, they collaborate and they work together to ensure that every student that leaves us has a plan, a post-secondary plan. So I'm just gonna be quiet for now, and I'm going to introduce Ms. Bonilla and Mrs. Walsh.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. Bernadette Walsh here. Actually, this is my 21st year in counseling. 4 years at a private school in the Bronx. So I've had different kinds of experiences. Really exciting to be here today because we have just a lot to share. It's great to collaborate with everybody and hear the different resources. And Nick, that was awesome to hear about what you guys have going on in your school. You know, as Diana would agree, and Mrs. Alomia as well, we are very, very fortunate here at Huntington to have amazing support from the high school building level, our faculty, central administration. When guidance sees a need, we are welcomed with open arms into the classrooms to conduct all sorts of lessons and presentations. For me, as the college counselor, or I'd like to say post-secondary counselor, because we know that not everybody's going to college. I do have the opportunity twice per year to push into the classes and run full lessons on college and career readiness, planning for college applications, and so on. And within these lessons, you know, I've fine-tuned them over the years. We have kind of assessed our student needs and what they're looking for and how to make things more interactive. I think that one of the, you know, takeaways from the pandemic is learning how to use technology better. So we were able to do that in our department and bringing in some fun games when we're working with the kids. The feedback from the teachers and from the students has always been really positive. And I think that that just lends itself to making our department such a well-received unit in our building. Our teachers see us present in the hallways, in the classrooms, in the cafeterias. And when our students see our smiling faces jumping into their rooms, it just helps build that connection. Certainly, we do have a comprehensive school counseling plan here in the building, which we review annually, and in conjunction with our guidance advisory board, we take a look at existing programs and what's happening and what we need to sort of work on. In working with the 9th through 12th grade students as a team, myself, Diana, and our other counselors, we collaborate weekly. We discuss what's going on and where our students need some more services and where we can kind of, sneak in a little bit. But I say sneak in sort of in jest because our teachers are very welcoming to us, whether it's having discussions about post-secondary planning, very specifically about the PSATs or SATs. We're able to run workshops quite often, reserving a space anywhere in the building, whether it's the library or some of our common areas, has been very well received. So we're just really fortunate. They see the need, they allow us to come on in and do what we need to do. And it's been just a really nice collaborative approach. When it comes to figuring out what students need, we're thinking about this from all different angles, from the career side. So we offer a career spotlight program where we bring in guest speakers. Typically these guest speakers will be bilingual, so we can do some sessions in Spanish and some in English. And that's been wonderful for all of our students. But I think I'll let Diana kind of speak to how, we work with the English language learners as well. I do work with Diana and the other counselors with the post-secondary planning piece, but there's a lot more involved. And again, our teachers, our L teachers, our gen ed teachers are very welcoming to allow us to come on in and do what we need to do.
Thanks, Fern. Yeah, in speaking about how we get feedback or how we know what to target, our teachers are really valuable in that. They see the need. Our L population has grown a lot, which is why the bilingual counselors are actually really involved in post-secondary planning with our students. So we have even revamped our L curriculum in order to perform more classroom push-ins and make sure that we're speaking in a language that the students understand. Our teachers actually can't even get enough of us. The ENL teachers constantly want us in our classroom, in their classrooms, because they see a need. This population that we're working with, they have come from such unfortunate backgrounds where they've had a lot of trauma. They have a lot of family separation. They have more needs that other students may not have. And a lot of that can even be educational. Some have interrupted learning, may not know how to use Chromebooks, or even how to navigate a school website, or how to utilize email. So these are things that we actually have to target in order to make sure that they're college and career ready. And not to mention even connecting them to resources. We do have pre-registration meetings, all of our counselors with grades 9 through 11. And part of what we want to assess is whether they have any needs that they might need help with. So we are in contact with many community resources, making sure that they may have, if they need therapy, any food, if they need connection with mentors. So we actually work a lot with multiple people, and we have to identify these needs by communicating with our teachers, and most of the time they're the first ones to let us know what the students need in order to make sure how we're addressing those needs properly. I don't even know what else to say. I feel like we are in such a good location where teachers want us in the classroom, and I was lucky. I was put into this position, so they already knew this about us. They see how involved we are. They see us in the classrooms. They see us in the hallways. I'm constantly touring new students and showing them around the school and making sure that they're acclimating well. And they know to reach out to us if they need anything. So we're very lucky to be working in a school district like this.
We are, and we're also very blessed to have such a wonderful administration. And if we see a need, and we speak with Jeanette about it, she speaks with the building principal and central administration, whomever she needs to speak with, and we get the time to work with the kids and be able to provide the services that we know that they need, whether it's how to write your college essay or how to apply to a college, or let's learn a little bit more about trade schools. These are things that we see that the kids need, and fortunately we're able to deliver that.
Yeah, and just
sorry, Diana, go ahead.
No, I was going to say that working with the ENL population, a lot of them don't even know that post-secondary education is possible. So even talking to them about that and resources, scholarships, just having them know that there's availability out there is really important. So they have to hear from us. They need to hear from us in order to make sure that they have a plan in place.
So we have a few more minutes, but I'm just going to ask Diana, Bernadette, and Nick, what's one tip you would like to share that helped you develop those great relationships with your teachers? What's one thing that you think would be helpful to your colleagues out here?
Well, I can definitely say something here. When I have new entrants, part of what I like to get to know their story. Because we know that our kids are facing a lot of trauma. So making sure that teachers are aware, maybe not in complete specifics, but at least letting them know that there may be more of a backstory here and making them aware that the student may need a little bit more emotional support. And our teachers are really good at doing that. They don't even wait for us to reach out to them half the time. They're already asking our students questions about their life back in El Salvador, Honduras, wherever they're coming from. They're asking these questions because they know how vital it is to ask these questions, so they know how to approach the student.
Mhm. Yeah. So here also, I'm sort of the Naviance person here, and I coordinate the college application process, which of course one of those giant pieces is letters of recommendation. So I do, I'm in touch with teachers constantly, not only about what's going on with individual students, but about how to use Naviance correctly and how the letters of recommendation are going to work. So over the years, but sharing information and being visible in the classrooms, and just even wandering, the hallways and touching base and stopping into a classroom and saying hello and meeting with students, they see us as advocates for the students, and our faculty really appreciate and embrace that.
Thank you. Nick, any tip?
I would say right now we're still kind of fighting that battle with teachers at the high school. I know I'm relatively new, 2-3 years here at the high school, so I'm still building relationships. I could say, at the junior high when I was there, it takes a little bit of time, and I think you have to some of the relationships are going to develop quicker than others. So I think you have to kind of know, feel out teachers and know which ones are really going to be excited to have you or to work with you, and start to build right from there. Because teachers always are connected with other teachers, right? So they're going to talk. So it's important to know, like, okay, this person seems like they're excited about this. Let's pursue that relationship and build from there. I had a teacher that did not like me. I'll just be honest, did not like me when I first started at the junior high. Fast forward 3 or 4 years later, because I put the time in to develop a relationship with her, we ended up developing a lesson together. So it takes time, and there's definitely a visibility factor that's huge, right? Like when you are seen with kids, helping kids, I think teachers really respect that. When they see you in the hallways, in the lunchroom or whatever, advocating for kids and doing things with kids. I think that is a huge factor. Goes a long way with teachers that can really help with lessons and help push lessons forward. I think that goes a long way. And then you just got to build from there and hope that connections with certain teachers can help you then connect to that next level of teachers that might be a little more closed off.
Nick, thank you.
Yep.
And the reason I brought that up is because that's always everybody's biggest challenge. Jeanette, I'm going to put this slide up as we bring things into closure. Jeanette, this was Bernadette and Diana's slide. They had a lot of great ideas, folks, around how to reach teachers and teacher feedback in terms of some of the things that they're doing rather, and they're going to provide additional information. You'll see it all when we're able to send you the PowerPoint. A couple of quick things. If there's anything in particular that you want to know more about right now, throw that in chat, something that may have resonated with you after you heard the counselors talk. And also, we put an exit survey into the chat. We really do need your feedback. That would be so helpful, so we know what to do next in terms of NYSCA support of school counselors across the state. And again, Jeanette and Diana, I know you, and Bernadette, you put a lot into the teacher feedback, but people will be able to read it, and hopefully we'll see if they have any questions. So what I'd like to do now, because it's almost 5 o'clock, open it up to Q&A. And I think what I will do, Bernadette, is put your slide up in case there's anything there that people want to take a look at. Okay, any questions, folks? Bob, if you can keep an eyeball on that one until we're ready to sign off here. But I love the very first one that said, "Our kids need your visit." We need you. And Nick, that's something that they're going to be saying about you. I always felt when I was a school counselor, start with one, word gets out that you've got something to offer, and all of a sudden everybody wants you in their classes. And not for a bathroom break or to, mark papers, but, certainly have your teacher as a partner in the process of delivering the lesson. So let's just see if,
Marilyn said, teachers can be your advocates. After I received MBCT, I used that to communicate and help teachers with their instructional practices. Cool. So they
Excellent.
needed you and you need them. Yeah.
Great partnership. And someone also asked, is NISCA site the place for schools to share their best practices? And I'm going to throw that back to Bob because that's something NISCA is working on. You'll see the 312 lessons. That site will get a refresh probably in the next few weeks because we found a couple of DEI issues that we've been correcting. I think we're just down to a handful of lessons that we need to look at. But certainly NISCA at some point, Bob, I guess we'll have a place where counselors can submit their best
We're looking
practice.
to create a portal where people can submit their favorite lesson and so on. And then we'll get them vetted and so on, with from other counselors and such. So that we can grow what we have. So stay tuned.
Stay tuned. And I'm throwing that exit survey up again one more time. Any other questions? Folks, any of our presenters have any other comment to make? I was trying to keep it moving so we get people out by 5-ish.
Hello, I just had a quick question. I'm sorry. I'm Charmaine. I'm one of the school counselors from Ithaca High School. I believe a few years ago, maybe it was Mary and Nick, they presented at NISCA about how they created their comprehensive school counseling plan. We haven't had an updated school counseling plan since 2010. And our department constantly has new people coming and going. And so I'm just wondering, as we're talking to the people in our district building, our deputy superintendent about our concerns with this, would there ever be an opportunity, and maybe this was more of something I should have sent in an email, but would you ever be willing to maybe connect with us at all to just talk about how you went about that? I feel like we're just in the dark completely about how to start navigating creating this plan that was supposed to be up years ago.
Yeah, I think that's something we could absolutely help with and do. I know this summer, our director of pupil services, our assistant superintendent for pupil services, is going to be asking us to look at our plan and update it. But, Nick, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I'm always happy to help. Yeah, I mean, I'd be more than happy to consult or whatever you want, whatever you need.
Sure. So yeah, I'll definitely connect with the both of you. Thank you so much for today. But yeah, I was like, oh my gosh, I remember them. Because I remember thinking then during that presentation, I needed to connect with you. So thank you.
And Charmaine, it sounds like that maybe one of the things we should consider for the fall of the NISCA conference, even though it's been a new mandate, since 2019, a lot of people had a plan, so they didn't bother to update it. So maybe a workshop on that might come in handy.
Sure. Yeah, I agree. Thank you so much.
Folks, anybody else?
I just wrote it down.
All right.
I just added our emails to the chat in case anyone's interested.
Okay, perfect.
Cool.
All right.
Thank you for everyone who came today, and stay in touch, and we'll get an email out tomorrow with links to the PowerPoint, links to the recording, links to the chats that we save, as well as a certificate of attendance, which a lot of people need. So that'll all be out tomorrow. And if you have any questions or any comments or any suggestions regarding future presentations, let us know. We're always open for great ideas.